All right, good morning, everyone. It is, as I'm recording this, January 26th. It's in the morning and it's very cold. And I'm glad to have somebody that all of you, that most of, I think everybody has gotten a chance to meet because he's been everywhere and he is still going everywhere across our district. That is Mr. Shawn Harris. Shawn, good morning. How are you doing down in Polk County?
Tom, I'm so excited to be on your show, and just like you said, it is very cold today,
It is very
and
cold today.
and so I'm just glad to be in the house to be able to talk to you today.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm concerned about those cows of yours, but I'm assuming the cows are doing all right. They know how to handle it, I guess.
Yeah,
And I know you know how to take care of them because you've been doing that for a while. So,
yeah. I,
uh,
I I would tell you I was out there early this morning, and all the cows are doing just fine. They got plenty hay. But Tom, as soon as I finish your show, because yes, I'm running for Congress, but I'm
right,
I'm still a farmer every day. So I'm
right.
I'm leaving from here, headed over to Alabama to buy some feed and bring back, and so that they have some additional feed to have to this afternoon, and then the rest of the next couple months. So
Well, good.
still busy every day.
Yeah, well, farming's not something you can just stop. It's
Yeah.
it's it's something you got to do every day, whether you want to or not. My dad loved it. It was never for me, but my dad loved it, and so God bless all of you guys who do that. I mean, I can't do it, but I was just watching the other day, just before we get going, when we had this storm coming through, those guys that were out there uh taking the trees down, getting they're in the bucket trucks with it raining and the wind's
Yeah.
blowing 50 miles an hour. And I'm just like, I do not want that job at all, but
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody
Well,
does. So
well, I tell you, one thing that I believe in is true. When bad weather's coming in, that's when farmers, everybody else says, "Hey, take a break, go in the house,
yeah,
relax." No, that's when farmers have to do extra work because now we got to prepare for 4 or 5 days in advance. And
right.
Tom, before we get started, because you mentioned the guys that are out there, the linemen that are out there making sure we get our power back on. I just want to say thank you to every last one of them because believe it or not, I think 100,000 plus people don't actually have lights right now all over Georgia. I'm not
Mhm.
100% sure how the storm truly affected us here in Northwest Georgia. Looked like it hit Northeast Georgia a lot harder.
Yeah, yeah,
But the reality of it is we do have linemen that are in our hotels in Northwest Georgia and probably have already been out checking things just to make sure that our lights are on or if they off, getting them back on real soon.
yeah. We got a big lineman center here in Dade, and it's apparently a job with high demand to it because they keep pumping them out all the time. So yeah, thank you for all everybody who has to get out in weather like this to deal with it. So just in case there's 5 or 6 people across the district who will watch this that don't know who you are yet, so why don't you just give a short introduction of who you are and why you're running for office? I guess that's a good way to start.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm Shawn Harris, and Tom, again, thank you for letting me be on your show. I'm running for Congress. When I say I'm running for Congress, I'm running for Congress again. I'm the same guy that ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene last time. As we know, Marjorie Taylor Greene this past December decided to quit on the people here in Northwest Georgia. So right now, our seat in Congress is sitting empty and all kind of votes are happening and Georgia is being left out. Northwest Georgia is left out. With that being said, I'm running because I want to make sure that I can bring down your costs. Because right now, I don't care if anybody try to tell you, we all know that the grocery bill is too high, light bill is too high, gas is too high. I'm basically talking about affordability. And then Tom, right before I got on your show, I was in there watching TV, and President Trump is now running a commercial talking about how he's trying to get people housing or houses. The reality of it is, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Right now, when you and I were kids, we probably bought a house in our 20s. The reality of it is today, the average person now can buy a house when they're in their 40s. So if don't let somebody fool you and say things are good. No, you should be able to sit around your own table with your own family and discuss it and figure out that wait a minute, things are not that good. And we need to get somebody in Congress that's going to focus on those everyday kitchen table issues. And last thing I'll say, Tom, focus 100% on the people here in Northwest Georgia because we hadn't had that in a long time. And somebody that will say openly, when I get to Congress, I'm going to represent everybody in the district, regardless if you voted for me or not. And I think we all know that Marjorie Taylor Greene only represented a small sliver, and that's why we're in the situation we're in now.
That's true. And yes, even though she seems to have she's seen the light or whatever lately, she saw it a bit too late. We have 5 years of nothing. And so, yeah, we're without one now. We've been without one for at least 5 years, effectively
Yes.
speaking. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about, there are lots of stuff that we need, but in your, in your mind, what are the one or two or three big issues that you think a representative for this district has to tackle
Yeah,
immediately?
right off the bat, a representative got to work to get down the cost. Right now, the cost of living is just way too high. Then the second piece of that is working to bring here generational jobs. And what I mean by that is bringing jobs here, not McDonald's, Burger King, and the Dollar General. I'm talking about jobs that will actually feed you and your family for generations to come. And when I say feed you, I'm talking about give you above livable wage because right now, too many of us in this district are working 2 and 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. And then that third thing, Tom, when I get to DC that I'll be working on is here in the district. All the time Marjorie was here, we never actually had any real offices open so that if you needed to talk to your representative, it was nowhere to go. And then when
Right.
you called it, it went to Washington, D.C. and it got lost. So the reality of it is, I will open up 3 offices here in the district on day one. One will be in Dalton, one will be in Rome, Georgia, and one will be down in West Cobb. In addition to that, inside of those offices, each one of those offices will have a veteran office so that our veterans and our veteran spouses, if you have any issues that need to be addressed, you can come there. But these people won't just talk to you. They will actually help you fill out the paperwork because too many of our veterans, 40,000 veterans in this district, are missing out on their benefits or their spouses are missing out on the benefits that they have already earned. So those are some tangible things that you'll see me working on in my first 2 or 3 days of being in office. But that by opening up the offices here in the district gives the people ability to come and talk to me or talk to my staff. But the other thing I will promise all the listeners out there, just like I'm doing town halls right now throughout the district, going to every zip code. When I'm your congressman, I'm still going to do that same thing because I think it's very important that I am listening to the people. That is my job is to listen, take that, and then actually try to put policy behind it to make life better for everybody here in Northwest Georgia.
Well, thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. Especially in a district, we've got a big district. I mean, physically, it's a big district. You know, we got 10
Believe
counties.
me, I know.
Yeah, I know you're on the road all the time, probably. It's hard to get up here. I mean, Dade is, we're sort of tucked away over here between two mountains and in the
Yep.
corner. And then you got Murray all the way over on the other side, and you got Cobb all the way down there. So you got all these different spaces, these different places. What have you found out as you travel around? Like, what are the needs for a small county like Dade versus maybe a larger county like Cobb or Paulding? How does that differ from one end of the district to the other?
Yeah, the district, you are exactly right. It's very big, also very diverse, but I would also go a step further and say very unique. And what I mean by
Mhm.
unique, as I crisscross the district, I'm making the difference. I'm in a small rural community or in one of our larger metropolitan cities, if you want to call it a larger metropolitan city. Um, Everybody agrees that the cost of living is way too high. So all
Right,
across the board, everybody
right,
wants me to focus on that. The other piece is everybody agrees that agriculture is our number one industry in this entire district, and our farmers got to make sure that they continue to be able to operate. Why do I
hmm
say that? Is because when you look at our smaller towns, if the farmers go belly up, and actually go bankrupt because they can't sell their crops because of this tariff situation, then our smaller towns are going to implode on themselves and just start shutting down. The larger communities like West Cobb and Paulding, they also now understand that if those things start happening, those same problems will start happening to the cities. So
Mhm.
that's why I say it's unique. Everybody now understands that when you say CD 14 or Northwest Georgia, we are all tied in this together. We're all dependent on each other. And what I have found from the people that live in the urban areas, they are now starting to better understand what's happening in our small towns of saying, what do you mean that you live in a health desert? What do you mean you don't have any mental health facilities? What do you mean that you really only got one grocery store, and that one grocery store may actually just be Walmart? So they are starting to better understand that. And at the same time, more and more and more people are starting to move into our district. And that's why it's continued to actually become more diverse in the group of people that lives here. And when I say that, not only in our urban areas, but specifically in our small towns throughout the district.
Yeah, that's right. And well, even up here, not Dalton's one of the bigger towns, but we got a
Mhm,
very diverse population there,
mhm.
with very unique probably needs there.
Yes.
And then you've got more rural areas like Polk or Dade. And some of the issues I think in rural that you've talked about are things like internet access, which that in some parts of the CD is good, in other parts maybe not so good. And what can a congressman do about that, or about water
Yeah.
issues, or
Yeah.
those sorts of things?
I would tell you, I talk about two things. I'll talk about broadband, and then I also talk about water issues.
Yeah,
From a broadband point of view, um, what I can do as your congressman, broadband's supposed to already be here throughout our district.
right.
However, I don't see anybody from DC or really from the state, but I'll stay at the DC level, that's actually asking the question by county, hey, where are we at on broadband, whatnot? And I think if I simply ask the question, then for Dave, for Polk County, for Floyd County, for whatever county, they will have to come back to me, whatever company's doing it, and saying, hey, you know, we are on this particular road right here. This is how long we've been doing it. And then I can simply ask the question, well, it doesn't seem like y'all been doing too much since 2022 or 2023 or 2024. What is the problem? Then we'll figure out the problem, or it may just be because I actually asked the question. They decide to come back and finish up the job. So that's one piece. The other piece that I will be working on from DC is, Tom, you know that some decisions that were made 50, 60, 70 years ago, our water quality is not where it needs to be. We are dealing with a PFAS issue, all the way down from Dalton all the way through Floyd County and beyond. And what we're seeing is now the first generation that dealt with it, but even now younger people, cancer is turning into a major issue in many of our smaller towns simply because of the water they are drinking. So as a congressman, I got to get my hands around that. I got to hit it from 2 or 3 points, from an environmental point, but it also comes back to making sure that we actually have access to health care, making sure that we have the doctors and nurses inside our facilities, but also making sure that we actually have the insurance. Because as you know, right now, the ACA is out the roof. And I'm worried that people are having to make a choice between health care and paying for milk and eggs for their family.
Yeah, and well, we can talk about any of those. I know you've already touched on them. Uh, I know, for example, water issues up here are we just our county, I think, finally got rid of their final piping from like World War II. a
Yes.
couple of years ago. That was Westbrow up in that way.
Mhm.
Still had the old pipes and all that, and
Yep.
God knows how much lead and everything else in it. But
Yep.
so yeah, we've had that some issues with that. The broadband, like you said, is something that it's kind of still there. It's
Hmm.
okay up here because we're closer to Chattanooga, but I'm sure that there are areas that's not.
Right.
And then let's go back to farming a little bit. I know that's in your wheelhouse, but when we talk
Hmm.
about farming, I always make a mistake sometimes that I think farmers, I'm thinking corn or whatever,
Right.
but farming around here is really what? I mean,
Yeah. You
what
know,
is farming in this part of the state more
when
than
you
anything
look at
else?
Northwest Georgia, um, we do have some row crops. So it is some individuals that are planting soybeans and corn and those type things. But the
Right.
majority of our farmers are actually in two pockets. It's actually poultry and
Mhm.
then it's cattle. And when we say cattle, most of the cattle are actually beef. It used to be dairy, but now most of the cattle is beef. But then, Tom, we have starting to see some branches out where we actually have some farms that are into grape vines and making wine. So
Yeah.
just like I said, the people are very diverse. Our farmers are also very diverse. And that's why as a farmer, I need to make sure that I can take care of all of those different sets of farmers because right now the current farm bill that we have is not meeting the needs of any of them. And I'll give you an example of that. If right now we have this problem with the freezing weather, if a farmer has a major tree fall on their fence, or God forbid some animals get killed for whatever reason, the farm bill, if it comes in to help you get back on your feet, it's going to only pay you at the rate of 2018. Interest is so high now that you can never truly get back on your feet at the level of 2018. The reality of it is we have to get the farm bill prices back up to current levels that we're in right now. So as a farmer, I can say to all the farmers, this is not something I need to be briefed on and told about. And if people watch the what was the thing that we just had the other night? Oh, the forum. If people watch the
Oh yeah, yeah,
forum
yeah.
that we just
The
did the
League of
other
Women
night,
Voters.
League of Women Voters did an awesome job. But it was a couple questions on there where we talked about farming. I encourage your farmers to look at it because you will clearly see that some candidates know farming and agriculture, and some candidates didn't have a clue. I'm
Right.
not saying that in a bad way. I guess what I'm saying is this: if you want to represent Northwest Georgia, and the number one industry in Northwest Georgia is agriculture, seems like to me you should have a pretty good understanding of agriculture and the needs and be willing to work for the farmers because right now we have a lot of farmers in our district that are worried that they're not going to be able to farm this time next year.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are going to, as soon as the League of Women Voters puts that out for just general viewing, we will have that here on Substack as well. So, and
Yes.
I understand it went pretty well for you. Now, I understand also there, let's talk a little bit about this election because it's weird. I mean, it is just a weird thing that we're undergoing here. We don't normally have 22 candidates in one pile. Uh, so you had your League of Women voter forum. I think how many showed up for that?
Well, the League of Women Voters, I think it was supposed to be 8 of us that had
Mhm.
signed up. The people can
Right.
go back and look at the poster. I think it was 8 of us. However, that night, I believe it was only 6 of us that
Six.
actually showed up. I can't say why those other people that had signed up didn't show, but I guess the better question would be if we got 22 people. When we say 22, I'm counting myself in that. If we
Right.
got 22 people and we all have received the email or the phone call or the text, however they got in touch with you or got in touch with your team, I don't understand why we didn't participate in it, because first it was supposed to be in person, and then we got word about the ice storm, and then they changed it and said, okay, we can do it just like I'm doing this with you, Tom. You can do
Right.
it from your house or wherever you want to do it from. So they gave us the convenience to do it from home. Now, was it some hiccups in that doing it online? Fine,
Yeah.
but still, the focus is making sure that the people can hear from their candidates. And I was just blown away that it was not 22 of us on there. And I think those individuals that didn't show, they should be explaining to the people of Northwest Georgia, where if you wasn't there and it was an ice storm, then where were you? Because I don't think could be having a town hall if everybody's being told to stay at home. So we'll
Right.
get that figured out. One of the things I plan to do is every time the League of Women Voters or whoever say they want to put on a forum or debate, whatever it is, I'm going to try my best to be there. Now, I will tell you, I already have some things on the books that have been planned out for a long time. And if I can't be there, I'm going to make sure that I send a surrogate that can actually speak for me, because I never want the people to think that Shawn Harris don't want to talk to them, because I think as a representative, my job is to listen to them. And when I say listen to them, that's Democrats, independents, and Republicans. I want to listen to everybody across the board, and so that we can build a relationship of trust. That's the probably the best way I would put it out there.
Uh, about your life experience, your slogan is leadership matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's kind of obvious in a way, but when you get to the heart of it, what do you mean by that? What has your life shown you about that, and what have we not had in that in this office over the last few years?
Yeah, yeah. And I
If
think
if that makes sense, I'm
that
sorry,
makes
that may be
sense,
a little
Tom.
complicated. Okay.
That is the greatest question that I've ever received. Period. Because leadership matters to me is, I'm not saying that somebody else is not a leader. What I'm saying to the people here in Northwest Georgia is, when you look at my body of work, I won't say as a resume, I just say my body of work, from leaving, getting graduating from high school, going off to the Marine Corps. And when I say go off to the Marine Corps, I'm not saying that because I am a Marine, because you're never a former Marine. What I'm saying is, when you go to the Marine Corps has a standard that never changes, period. You have to either be on the team or not. And then to switch over and go into the Army as an officer and do well. But one of the things I want to make sure that everybody understands, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was enlisted. That means I used to stand at the gate and sometimes ask myself, what am I doing out here? Nobody ever explained to me from a leadership point of view, well, what was the purpose? Then
Right.
take that and go all the way through the ranks, all the way up to general or brigadier general. And last assignment in Israel. Now thinking through those things and making sure that everybody understand why we're doing it. What is your piece of it and how important your piece is? Now, really, what I want to get to your question, why does leadership matters? Is because I see for too many times people that are in leadership positions, like sitting in Congress as your representative, it's going to come those one or two times while they're up there where they're going to have to really show their leadership. And that leadership is going to show, are you going to vote what's best for Northwest Georgia? Or are you going to vote party line with your Democratic Party? Or are you going to vote party line with President Trump? Or are you going to vote party line with the Republicans? The reality of it, what I mean by that is, many times during my career, I have had to make that hard decision and say, no, this is what's best for the men and women that I'm leading. It may not agree with Washington, D.C., but Washington, D.C. sent me here to be a leader on the ground in Afghanistan. They sent me to here be a leader on the ground in a place like in Liberia doing Ebola. They sent me on the be on the ground as a chief of staff in Kosovo, and then they turned back around and sent me to a place called Israel to be the senior defense official. They sent me those places because I had proven that I was a leader and I was willing to make the hard decisions and then explain those decisions to my hires. And in my case, Tom, I work for the people of Northwest Georgia. Northwest Georgia people are my boss, period. So I think if you would get any other person on your show, they can't say this. Shawn Harris is a Democrat, but I'm not married to the party. I guarantee you, you get any of those rest of those 21 people that I'm running against, especially the 17, 18, 19 Republicans that I'm running against, every last one of them would tell you, I'm lining up and I'm supporting Trump. When they tell you that they supporting Trump, what they actually telling the people here in Northwest Georgia that you are second or third. They doing the same thing Marjorie Taylor Greene did, and we all know what that actually got us. Absolutely nothing.
Right. And we all know that got her in the end
Yes,
too.
it
And
got her
that's
a whole bunch of money and
right.
everything that we say we don't want to do. Insider trading, we say we don't want term limits. And guess what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to live off my retirement from the military. Period. I don't all of my whatever was being traded that's being done just by the machine or whatever does it. I have no clue what I'm buying on any given day. But what I can tell you, what I can control, I have already told the world, put it out there, that I believe in term limits. Bottom line is this: I'm not going to DC to stay in DC for 40 years. Nope. Carla has told me, Carla's my wife, she has told me, you can go up here for 5 to 6 years, whatever it is. I think it's 6 years for term limits, and then you need to come home. At the end of the day, what I want to do is help move Northwest Georgia in the particular path of success, and then somebody else, younger, come up and replace me. But guess what? Whoever that is, also only stay there for a term limit so that we don't get in a situation where we're 80, 90, 100 years old and we still trying to represent everybody here in the district.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a problem in both parties. To be
Yes.
fair, we've had a lot of people hanging on to those jobs too long,
Mm-hmm.
and either whether I think probably the best way to do a term limit is, as you suggest, is to the same way George Washington did. You don't even have to make it a law. Just make a decision inside yourself. I'm not hanging around here forever. It's not worth. First of all, it's not worth it. I
No.
know there's a lot of benefits to it. I'm sure people get quite wealthy on it, but they also get quite corrupted by all that
Yes.
too.
I
You
would
know,
let me also mention this to you, Tom, because I had some people ask me, I think it was last night or yesterday somewhere, is some people thought that with the good Lord help, when I went on March 10th, when I went on March 10th, that was it. I need everybody to understand that when I win on March 10th, or if we end up going to a runoff and then we got to do something in April, when I win, I'm just really going to DC from that point to November. However, it's not going to be fun. And when I say it's not going to be fun, I want everybody to understand this because I think in March time frame or April time frame, you know better than me. I have to then go register again to
yeah.
run in the primary, to then
First week
turn
of
back
March,
around
right,
and run for Congress again. So
right.
so what we're doing here is a major sacrifice of saying we want to represent the people and we're willing to go through 3 or 4 or 5 more elections just to get to the point that I'm up there for 2 years.
Right, right.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it was. It seems like it was just yesterday that we just had the election against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and here we are, right back again,
Yeah.
doing it all over.
Yeah, so you have the election coming up, just to be clear to everybody. The special election's coming up on March the 10th. Early voting starts February 16th. That is to complete this term through the end of this year. And then in May, or let's say the first week of March, you qualify for the next term, which
Yes,
starts in January next year. And we have the primary in May and the general election in November. So we got a lot of elections coming up.
correct.
And what do you need? And, speaking of leadership, you're a general, about campaigns, and there's a reason why political people use that military word campaign.
Hmm.
What do you need from us, the people who support you, the voters who want to make sure that you win? What do you need from
Yeah.
us?
The first thing I always say, Tom, is first, I just need your prayers, because this thing is not going to be easy. But if it was easy, I personally would be doing it. The other thing that I need, if people can donate to the campaign, yes, please give money. I'm proud to say that our average donation is $23.38. I'm proud to say that. I'm also proud to say that nobody can buy Shawn Harris. I'm not getting any APAC money and all those kind of things. My focus is the people here in Northwest Georgia. Now, what can people do on an everyday basis to help us win? Like I use today as an example. Today is very, very cold in Northwest Georgia. I don't want anybody to go outside and get sick, knocking on doors and all those kind of things. But you can get in touch with my campaign. That's SeanForGeorgia.com. Go down to the bottom, register to be a volunteer, talk to Shelly, and we can send you a list that you can actually start making phone calls today. We can also send you mailing addresses so that you can actually start writing postcards and mailing them out today. And then the last thing that I want everybody to do when it gets warm again, I need as many people to go out and be knocking on doors in all 10 counties. And then the last thing, because I don't have the date right here in front of me, but I think it's going to be in the next few days, is right now we can still get people registered to vote in this election. I just don't have it in front of me, Tom, but
I
if
think it's,
for the
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
for the people that actually are doing that, what I have learned is a lot of young people, a lot of college. When I say young people, I'm talking about high school students that I met last year that were in their junior year, but now they are senior. That's
Mhm.
now 18, and then also is a lot of high school students that I met last year that was actually too young, but now they going to school, going to college, going to trade school somewhere in the district. We need to make sure we get those people registered because they are excited for me, and I want to make sure that our young people and any and everybody that's new to the district get a chance to vote in this particular special election that we got coming.
That's great. And just to let you know, we've already mailed out several hundred of those postcards as of today here in Dade, and we're ready to do more, plus doing the door knocking whenever the weather does start to cooperate
Yep.
with that. And the phone banks, I think, are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just so everybody knows that. And so you got 3 days of the week where you can make calls for Sean during the evening. I think it's from five 5 to 8, 5 to 8 or something like that. I think it's five
Yep.
to eight anyway.
Yep.
And I think on your question about registration, it's 30 days from the election. It's so March the 10th. It's probably like February 9th or 8th or 10th, somewhere in
Yeah,
there. You have
somewhere in
yeah,
there. I
right.
just don't have that date in front of me anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. And so, but it's 30 days from the election. So if you need to get registered and you're watching this, please get registered immediately.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. You're good then. So
Yeah. Hey
so
Tom, let me
that'll get started. Yeah.
let me just mention one other thing because I got a chance to sit in a election discussion here in Polk County, which I thought was awesome because a lot of people are confused on this jungle
Mhm.
election thing or primary, all these kind of things. But one of the things that I want to make sure that everybody understands is February 16th is President's Day, okay?
Right.
However, the state of Georgia they still recognize the day, but they actually use President's Day on the 24th of December. That means you don't have to come back to work the day before Christmas. Okay?
Right.
That's
Right.
what I learned in the thing. But what's significant about that is that on President's Day, all the schools will be closed, and a lot of people will also be off work that day.
Mhm.
So, what I'm actually asking all of my supporters to do on that very first day, on February 16th, throughout the entire district, put on your dance card to go to the polls, flood the polls. Let's get all the votes that we can get in on the 16th, and then we'll do the same thing on the 17th, on and on and on. But one of the things you hear me talk about all the time, Tom, is winning the day. I want us to win the day on the 16th. But as we continue to win the day, we need to make sure that when the news starts talking about it, looks like the Democrats are flooding the polls and is looking good in early voting. We need to remember that it's still election day, and too many times we lose the election on election day. So I
Exactly
want
right.
to make sure that all of those people that go on the 16th and flood the polls and get their vote in, those voters become volunteers to help us get in and everybody else to the polls, especially on election day, so that the way this thing works, Tom, and I know you know it, is math would say it's going to be very hard for me to get 50 plus 1%. Guess what? I just looked at a football game less than a week ago, Indiana, and nobody had them picked to win the national championship
True.
at all.
Right.
Nobody said they're going to have an undefeated season at all. So what I'm saying to all our supporters is this: if we all get out and work and do our part and win the day, we can actually get out so many people that the math will work that says Shawn Harris, the one Democrat, you split all those numbers up between the 17, 18 Republicans that are actually out there, and then I think we're going to be okay. Or if we do have to go into a runoff, we are so far ahead that whoever I'm running against in the runoff is going to have some major problems, and we can actually win this thing.
That's right. And I do want to point out for people, 22 candidates, you're going to have to do some scrolling. I don't know how they list them I think it's by alphabetically.
Yeah, that's what
So
they
you'll
told us
be,
going to be alphabetical order.
right,
So you have to look for Shawn Harris. Everybody that's a Republican will have an R beside their name. Everybody who's an independent will have a I beside their name, and then I think it's one Libertarian. And then I think Tom, and I just only say this, I'm not going to say their names, but it's two individuals, one individual who I guess he just couldn't get it figured out. He wanted to be an independent, but he couldn't get it figured out. So he decided that he thought it was too many Republicans. So he decided to put his name down as a Democrat. That's the nicest way I can do it. But then there's
right.
another individual out there. I won't say his name, um, but you just do your own research. That other individual is a bona fide plant Republican
Right.
that is working inside the Republican Party, and he basically just went out and wrote a check for $5,220 just to get his name on the ballot as a Democrat, just to confuse all the rest of the Democrats. Shawn Harris is that Democrat that's going to represent everybody across the board. And I just need to make sure I keep saying that, not elevating those other individuals, but for everybody to understand that when they get on that ballot, come down that thing, look for Shawn Harris. That's the guy that you're supposed to be voting for.
And you are the only Democrat on the ballot, truly the only Democrat on the ballot. And you have the support of every Democratic committee in this district,
That
all
that
10
is
counties.
that is 100% true. And the other thing I would say, Tom, is those other two Democrats or wannabe Democrats had the
Democrats.
opportunity to come to the League of Women Voters event a couple nights ago, did not show. What
Right.
I'm watching is, will they come to the next thing? Tom, let me, because I'm not a real politician. I'm not
Right.
a real politician. Um, the piece that is blowing my mind is that the League of Women Voters are putting on these events and inviting all of us across the board. I think that's awesome. But I also see on social media that the Republican Party in the district is also having forums, but the only people they let come to the forum is the Republicans. Um, I asked myself, um, am I doing something wrong? Because I see that I think it's this week or next week, they actually having a forum right here in my hometown in Rockmart, Georgia, at a church that's not too far from my house, but I hadn't been invited to come. Um, I Tom, I'm in the leadership business. If they would invite me, I would come. I'm willing to stand up there and tell people where I stand in a room full of Republicans because I want to make sure that people know that I'm going to represent everybody. But I'm just surprised that they having their own stuff, but don't want to invite any of the rest of the candidates.
Well, they're first of all, they're afraid of you. They are worried about this election in a way that I haven't seen Republicans worry about an election up here in a while. And second, they probably won't even get all their Republicans to it. I imagine that some of those same people won't even be bothered to show up for that. And so yeah, I mean, I think truly that uh, they are concerned and they have good reason to be. And that's because you're running a great campaign. The Democratic Party is united behind you. It's not fractured
Yep.
20 ways to hell and back, So we're there and you've been there for us and you're going to continue to be there for us. And I just want to thank you. I know you got some hay to go get in Alabama, so I'm going to let you go do that.
Yep.
But I do appreciate your time talking with us today, Shawn. Thank you so
But
much for coming by.
But Tom, before I hop off, I want to thank you for your leadership. Your Substack is spot on. I listen to it every week when it comes out. I what I love about your Substack, you give the facts, period.
Right.
And too many times people are spinning things. And I think when my team told me that you wanted to do this, I said, sure. I don't care what I'm doing that day. We're doing it. Hopefully, I shaved right before I got on. His look
Oh,
pretty for you.
you look
So,
great. You look great. You make me look
but
bad. I'm thinking I didn't shave, so I need to. But yeah, you look great.
but
So
again, Tom, thanks and thank you for all your help. I look forward to coming back up north and seeing everybody. And I think real soon, early part of February, we will be back up in the northern part of the state with some town halls and just I just look forward to all the support. I look forward to winning this election, and then I look forward to bringing results, and I look forward to people holding me accountable because my job is working for the people right here in Northwest Georgia. So, Tom, thank you for everything.
thank you, Shawn. We're lucky to have you, and we're 100% behind you. And I can't wait to get out there and knock some doors and do all the rest of it for you. So we will see each other soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.